Hello, welcome to another edition of Crop Life Retail Week. I'm Eric Sfiligoj, editor of Crop Life and Crop Life Iron magazines. Here again, finally back with my co-host, Lara Sowinski. Laura, good to see you again after a week off.
Yeah, I missed you. Where have you been? What you been up to?
Oh, where have I been? Where haven't I been?
Haven't you been? So,
I was going to say, if I had a dime for every minute I've had delayed flights the last couple of weeks, I would be saying sayonara because I'd have the $1,000,000 in my pocket. So yeah, no, it has been a whirlwind adventure, and this week I actually got to spend some time with my friends at Raven Industries up in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Raven had its third annual Ignite event, where they basically bring in retailers and industry partners and basically kind of show off everything they have in the pipeline and that they've improved upon. As again, of course, Raven Industries very very important industry for ag tech and all things ag tech and they had a lot of good information to share about some of their products. They talked about the VSN system, which they were displaying on a rogator, a Fendt rogator. They talked about Viper 4 Plus RS1, which is their automatic steering. The Auto Boom XRT. They had a whole station talking about automation and autonomy, which was very, very interesting. But then the newest thing that they have coming up into the marketplace is something called Sense and Act. And basically, this will be used for sprayers or spreaders, and ag retailers and growers can use it to basically better apply product in the field and a more of a spot spray or application method. So again, we'll be talking more about that, I'm sure, in the upcoming weeks as we have other trade shows coming up here in the heart of summer. But yeah, again, my thanks to my friends at Raven. They really had a really great event. They had about, I think, 145 attendees total, and again, a lot of ag retailers were there. A lot of the top 100 folks I got to talk to, and it was really a nice event. So look for future videos and stories online and in print to kind of talk about other things that were discussed at the Ignite event.
Awesome. That's cool. Well, I'm glad you're back, and I'm glad you had a great week. Learned a lot.
Yeah, well, and actually, this event too, besides featuring new products, they did have one speaker, a good friend of ours, Ken Zuckerberg from CoBank. And
Yep.
I did do a little video clip where Ken was talking about his speech was basically talking about challenges to the marketplace, to ag in general and ag retailers more specifically. And in
Mhm.
this video clip coming up, he actually kind of speculated on maybe a sort of partnership slash marriage that we may see in the industry going forward, possibly. So here is Ken's clip.
Providers equal value-added advice and service to the farmers. When I go back to that product offering idea, again, I think about the autonomy, the agronomy, the precision together. Part of me thinks that if retailers don't take the bull by the horn here, then there's another set of transactions that could happen, which would be equipment dealers and ag retailers coming together. I know it sounds crazy, I know people don't want to hear it, but if both sides are complaining about labor, and both sides have subject matter expertise in farming, the person selling the variable rate sprayer knows one or two things about chemicals and fertilizer, and the person selling the input, the raw input, knows one or two things about equipment. So, could that happen? Maybe.
So, Laura, that's what Ken had to say about ag retailers possibly partnering or getting together formally with equipment dealers moving forward over the next couple of years. Again, as he himself admitted, it sounds like a wild idea, but again, with labor and tech becoming more of a commonplace issue
Mhm.
across the board for everyone in agriculture, thought it might make some sense. And I guess I'll have to go back to my beverage days for maybe an example of how this could work. I know when I used to cover beverages, that was beer and soft drinks, and that was back in the late 80s. That's where I started out. And back in the late 80s, I mean, if you handled soft drinks, if you were Coke or Pepsi, you handled soft drinks. If you handled beer, your Anheuser-Busch, your Miller, your Coors. But then sometime in the 90s, as beer sales kind of started flattening out, the beer distributors started handling other products, which a lot of people in the soft drink market they thought that was a bit odd. But I mean, I don't know if you remember products like Original New York Seltzer or Clearly Canadian or even Snapple when it first came out. I mean, those products weren't handled by the Coke and Pepsi guys. They were handled by the beer distributors, and the beer distributors used that ancillary part of their business to basically boost sales. And in some instances, these products became really, really big. I mean, if you look at today's market, when I go to the grocery store and the beverage guys are unloading beverages, I mean, the beer guys are handling the White Claws and they're handling the Hints. They're not, though it's not the Pepsi and Coke guys handling those products. So, you know, maybe to Ken's point, maybe a marriage of equipment dealers and traditional ag retailers in the future isn't as outlandish as it might sound on the surface.
Yeah, this actually isn't the first time I've heard of that, and it's not as far-fetched. I mean, if you pause and think about how and why it would work and the current market conditions that would support that, it doesn't seem that far off. So that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
I'm glad for
Yeah,
the
so again, we'll see what comes of this. But again, if it doesn't come to pass and Ken and I are meeting up in 5 years, I'll tease him about it mercilessly. So, and if it does, then I'll call him a prophet and bow accordingly.
I'm sure he'll love that.
All right. Well, Laura, I've been monopolizing the front part of the video, so you said you had some news to share as well. So if you could, take it away.
Sure. Just a couple quick items this week. Mosaic Company announced via a press release the formation of their platform, Mosaic Biosciences. Reading from their press release on the technologies from Mosaic Biosciences enhance crop health and support the natural biology in plants and soil. So according to analysts, the market for agricultural biologicals could reach as high as 30 billion by 2029. So certainly we know, of course, expanding market, but that's quite large. So you know, this item caught my eye, as well as kind of a little update on the Farm Bill. You know, the current 2018 version of the Farm Bill is set to expire September 30th, but
I was gonna say coming up really quickly on the calendar, yeah.
Exactly. So lawmakers, in particular, Senate coming back to DC on September 5th. The House returns on September 12th. But you know, Congress has a bit busy schedule when they get back. We have some government spending bills that need to be ironed out in the month of September and need to be passed by October 1st in order to avoid a partial government shutdown. Excuse me. So, you know, I was just kind of catching up, you know, what items in the Farm Bill are potential sticking points, what are they looking out or looking at, excuse me, to update. In particular, the reference prices, you know, the prices, you know, kind of the insurance and protections, if you will. So lawmakers and farmers both are saying that those reference prices are really outdated. One senator in particular said, you know, the data that we used for reference prices goes back to 2012. Obviously, you know, a lot has changed since then. So that's something that they hope to address and to adjust accordingly. I think the big concern is not only the schedule for Congress and, you know, the pressure to kind of move quickly on the Farm Bill, but, you know, right now it looks like, you know, there's bipartisan support on various things, reference prices and SNAP and other elements of the Farm Bill, but The desire, of course, is to keep it bipartisan and, find committed support for the Farm Bill. So everyone's just holding their breath, like hoping this doesn't spiral into something that turns, more political than it has to be. So
yeah, unlike anything else that's gone on in Washington the last couple of years. Yeah. Okay.
So that's where we're at. So just kind of keeping an eye on that, and tossing it back to you because before we kind of went live here, you mentioned something, a new development with regards to corn and trade
Yeah,
policy.
I was going to say this ties back to, of course, the dispute between U.S. and Mexico regarding biotech corn and the importation thereof. I guess this past week, the U.S. has formally requested some arbitration to kind of settle the dispute under the terms of the U.S.-Mexico-Canada trade agreement. And Secretary of Agriculture Tom Vilsack actually made a comment regarding that that proposal, that request by the corn growers in the U.S. And he basically had a quote that said, Mexico's approach to biotechnology is not based on science and runs counter to decades worth of evidence demonstrating its safety. And went on to say that by requesting the establishment of a dispute settlement panel with Mexico, the U.S. is continuing to exercise its rights under the USMCA to ensure that U.S. producers and exporters have full and fair access to the Mexican market. So again, I know we had talked about the fact that it looked like we were going to be heading for a panel to settle this dispute between the two countries. So now the formal request has been made, but as we pointed out in an earlier video, that by the time all the processes get into place, we may be well into November, unfortunately, before there's some movement on this. But as always, we will keep you abreast as things develop, and stay tuned for future videos for more information.
Great. Thank you for that.
Yeah, so before we dive into the end, then, just to let everyone know, next week is, of course, the big Maggie show taking place in Bloomington, Illinois. Laura and myself will both be on the fairgrounds, and if all goes well technologically, we should be recording next week's video coming to you from the Maggie show. We'll be able to give you some of the highlights of what has gone down on those 2 days the event is taking place, and what we saw, who we saw, and what was important that took place. So again, that'll be on the 23rd and 24th of August in Bloomington, the Maggie Show. And if you're there, stop in and say hi. I mean, Laura and I, look for us. We'll be the ones running around like chickens with their heads cut off.
With the huge hat from El Paso.
Well, okay, yeah, you'll have the huge hat from El Paso. I will just have my Crop Life iron hat and be thankful that it covers a little bit of my hair. So all right, Miss Laura. Well, it is time for the favorite part of the show. Time for Fun with Numbers.
Yay, I missed it last week, so
all right, well, you've got a better chance this week if you're paying attention. So this week you have a straight number. It is 52.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
So is 52, is that A, the number of products Raven featured at its Ignite event this week? Is it B, the number of years since U.S. wheat exports have been so low? Is it C, the number of Maggie exhibitors at this year's event? Or is it D, the number of weeks I seemingly have been traveling this year? And if you all pay attention, 52 is the number of weeks in a year. And God knows it seems like I've been on the road every one of them. So.
Well, A.
No, I'm sorry. No, Raven, I will say this, Laura. Raven has a lot of products, but they did not feature 52 of them at the event I was just at. It's closer to a dozen or so. No, the correct answer is B. the number of years since U.S. wheat exports have been this low. There was a report from USDA that said here so far in 2023, we're looking at about 700 million bushels of U.S. wheat being exported. And that is the lowest total for the marketplace since 1971-72. So, and I go, and you're like me, you remember those were the days of Saturday morning cartoons and Scooby-Doo mysteries and Bugs Bunny, and it's just
The good old days, you mean?
yeah, the good old, that's all the stuff now you have to find on Boomerang if you're so lucky to have that channel on your cable system, or online, of course, you go to YouTube and watch some of this old stuff. But yeah, I mean, I was surprised. Basically, the USDA report said that even though recently, of course, with Russia and the Ukraine conflict and the agreement to let grain go out of the Ukraine ended, up until now, there has been enough grain to go around, so that I guess the demand for U.S. grain has not been as high as in years gone by. So,
Well, interesting. Well, I still think somewhere, if we were counting every little, upgrade to software and stuff, maybe we can get to 52.
you're really reaching here, man. Yeah, that's all right. That's right. You'll get them next week when we have, I'm sure, a Maggie related trivia question. And since you'll be there to see it for yourself, I'm sure you're going to get it right. So
yeah, really, I'm looking forward to this show.
yeah,
All the right,
because
yeah,
it is a very good event. If the weather cooperates, it'll be wonderful. And I've kind of looked at some of the forecasts for next week in Bloomington, and it seems like it's going to be a little on the warmish side, but now, not 100-degree heat like I'm sorry you've been dealing with there in El Paso the last month or so.
Yeah, but it does look like it's going to be in the 90s, but all things considered, not too bad.
Not too bad. So anyhow, that is about all we have time for this week, everyone. So thanks for joining us for this edition of Crop Life Retail Week. On behalf of myself and everyone at Crop Life, thanks for joining us. We'll see you again soon. If you have questions or comments about today's episode of Retail Week, contact us by email or Twitter, or type your message in the comment section below. Your feedback is important to us. We will try our best to address your thoughts in next week's episode, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel.